Hi everyone, it's another episode of my Workman Show. I hope you guys have been following and you guys have been enjoying the show. I remain Marcos, and with me is
Yeah, welcome everybody. This is Kuzi, and this is another great episode. We hope to bring you some value on the My Workman show as always. And a quick summary of what we'll be talking about today. Obviously, we tend to derail most times, but yeah, we still always try to keep the conversation,
about
around money making, how to effectively manage yourself, and all that stuff.
setting up the business and the rest. So today we're going to be talking about the process of getting a driver's license in the Nigeria system, and we're going to be walking you guys through our experience. One of us has gone through the process or is going through the process, let's say that. And we're going to discuss how the process is. And like we said in the last episode, and there's a means of getting money also by getting a driver's license and registering under the Bolt system or the Uber system or any other transportation company, or you can go for a driver's position in any company or individuals. You can become a driver and you start earning salary. So then, but before you go into these things, the basic thing after you've learned how to drive is getting a driver's license. And so that's what we're going to be looking at. Is it difficult? Is it easy? We're just doing our own observation. We've not really gone to the agencies and just like do a background research with them, but we are using the experience we have had with them to put out this video. So Jose is going to be talking about his experience with us. I'm going to be joining him because we did a little bit of work together. So you guys should just enjoy it, and I hope you learned something today.
Cool. Yeah, so we went around town today. Firstly, the journey was actually a bit far. I think it took us roughly about 3 hours from my current location to get to the place where we had to take the test for the driver's lesson. And it was nice seeing the town. I mean,
Yeah,
you had to go around some new places, check out how Port Harcourt really is. Some of the places we haven't really been before. It was the first time, and it just kind of put this thought in my mind. Like, there are places that, I mean, it's a really big city. There are places that you probably will just end up going only once because,
yeah.
like, yeah. So, but anyway, so back to the license stuff. We got there, met with the individual, and it was surprising to me that you had to take a test, like a written test, not like
CBT test,
yeah, CBT test rather.
a kind of examination. You
Hmm.
take questions and answer.
Yeah. So the question was about 30 questions
Yeah.
for 30 minutes. So we
No, 30 questions for about I think 1 minute because it was a count. No, it was
I
not
was
the
talking
30.
about the total time for the test.
Yeah, it was counting down, and I think it was about 2 minutes or three. It was not up to 30 minutes.
Let's say, okay, maybe 25. I think it was the total time was 25 minutes
25.
for the entire test for 30 questions, maybe. Yeah. So, but let's just estimate between 20 to 30
30 minutes.
minutes for the test. So, which was kind of cool. They know about that part. So, we did that, took the test, answered the questions. And when we were answering the questions were some were funny, some were actually like smart questions that you had to like think to get the answers. Well, overall sentiment about the test was it was okay. I mean, you basically just needed to know few driving principles and rules and regulations to pass the test. So obviously we passed the test, got 75%, and yeah, uh, sent over my details. And hopefully in a couple of weeks. No, not weeks. It's Friday already now, so maybe by Monday should be getting the temporary license, and I believe with that temporary license we can start driving around the roads. And like Marcus suggested, uh, applying for one of these sharing services, Bolt or Uber, as a way to generate income. And yeah, which is kind of cool. But something came to my mind while we're doing this stuff. I was thinking like the transport we use to come, like the local transport system. I mean, these guys don't even need a driver's license and they're making money every day just driving around the town. So,
Yeah. Because yeah, that is one thing we've
mm,
observed in the Nigerian society.
mm,
These local, I'm not say these what's the word now? Township shuttle
mm,
guys. Most of them have expired license. They don't really want to renew. I think that's boils down to the fact that renewal of the license is a little bit expensive. I don't know if it's expensive though, but then they are working and they cannot just take 20,000 naira out of their work to go and renew their licenses. And it got into the time that, like, for years, 10 years ago,
mm.
some 20 years, that's when their licenses expired and they're just driving around the city. And there's no proper check on those guys, though, because they are just generating tax
Mm.
for the government. And government don't really check on them. They just need them to pay their tax, the dues that they levy on them, and they are good to go. Because when we're coming back, I think we had an experience where the driver we were with did not actually have a license,
Yeah.
and he was just laughing it off like, um, I'm an old man, I can't. So we just passed that place, and we observed that, oh, these
This
guys
is
don't really have licenses.
yeah, this is even bringing a thought to my mind. If we actually analyze the transport system of Nigeria, like I don't know, it's not the best actually. The local transport system. Uh,
As the intracity,
yeah, yeah, not
intracity
yeah, just
system.
moving around. So we currently have, I think, about 3 means of getting around. So we have like the ride sharing services, which obviously is not available for every city. It's only really available in the major cities like yeah, there's maybe like a university and stuff like that. And then we have bike, keke, buses, which I think are privately owned by individuals.
Yeah.
So I don't know, using maybe a system where these intra-city buses are owned by government would function properly. I think there's some big cities where government owned buses.
Yeah, like in
Mm,
Lagos, I think there are some government-owned buses. Then
mm,
in Edo State, so I think Benin, there are some, we call them Oshomole bus, like those long bus. They just
yeah.
convert people from, you have a card.
Mm,
And those are some of the policies and government have put in easing transportation for people. I think there was a time in Delta State they had something like that, the intercity mass transit,
yeah.
and it was mostly for students, for students, to convey students to school at a
Mm,
very cheap rate. I think it was free.
yeah, I
Was it
believe
free?
so. Yeah.
Yeah. So something like, but the problem with government facilities in Nigeria is lack of maintenance, like
Mm,
what we're talking about in the last section.
mm,
You see that the policies that they brought in something. It's either this government, after leaving the office, the
yeah.
next one does not come and maintain
Continue.
it.
Mm,
Because I think there was a time we heard in Asaba where all the buses that was bought by the past and administration,
mm,
everything were just there in one large feed, and
mm,
I think they will be auctioning them, or government officials. I don't know how they will do
mm,
those, but we see that most times now they will transfer those things to private organizations to run for them
mm,
because private takes care of things better than the government because the
mm,
government does not have any monitoring body.
mm,
But for effective transportation,
mm.
the government setup stuff is actually very good, but maintenance is a problem because when government sets up something like that, it's always very cheap, and I think there will be check on the drivers' professionalism and all these things. But individuals now, you cannot checkmate yourself regularly. So that's why you see most of these individual guys that don't really have a license. They just
What would be the
move
solution to
around.
this whole something now? Let's say, okay, should the government take over all the current public transport buses and say, okay, every privately owned bus right now on the road should, uh, how would you say it now? Should start, should hand over their bus to the government. That's something that's feasible. Can the government really
That's
do that
something that is
large scale transformation and
it's
just
something that is feasible, but it's not something that should be encouraged.
okay?
Because when you have a buy system of anything, it's actually more effective. When the government are doing their part and then private citizens are.
What's the benefit of private transportation now? Like this private transport company, this intra city, like these local buses now, like
It
oh,
takes some load off the government.
no, what I'm saying is that okay, these people now, how profitable is it really for them as they're driving day in day out? Because from the bus we took now from the location we went to register for a license, you could see that it was just only us mostly that was in the last bus we took when we were coming back. It was just me and like me, you, and one other passenger, and this bus was able to seat maybe like 15, I don't know, let's say 10 people, but
If
it was
you,
just three people in the bus.
it's a very profitable venture.
Hmm.
You don't look at the one ride. If you even look at from when we came into the bus and when we went out, you can calculate like how much came into this guy's hand.
Hmm.
It's more than 2,000 naira. You check, and then you do how many trips a day. That's what you use to calculate. They are to and fro for a trip. That's how they calculate, and they know some of them do about 10, 15 trips a day, and then they make their money. After buying food and everything, they go home with about 20, 10,000,
Hmm.
and a very busy day, 20,000. And I I'm more familiar with in other regions. I'm not really familiar with, but I know that it's very lucrative because you see if someone comes enter from here to this
Hmm.
to from point A to point B,
Hmm.
another one comes in from point B to point C, and you see they are just picking. It looks very small, but when you now combine everything together, you see that wow, this person has really made a lot, and then they pay their tax. That's where the government gets most taxes from. If you want to really check any industrial city, most of the tax come from transportation.
Hmm.
Apart from the big companies that are around, like in places where there are no big companies, the major source of tax to the government is from these guys, and it's really you can see, and some city are doing like 1 billion a month, 2 billion a month on tax. That's what government is getting from these guys. So if it's not really that, but imagine you move everything to the government
Hmm.
because why it's not good for government to be handling everything because most times the things become subsidized
Hmm.
and then cost of maintenance and everything, you now see large amount of money going into the sector for it's not really that's why partnership between government and private is very essential for the growth of economy in any country or state.
Because what I'm trying to look at this, yeah, I'm a big fan of private owned business. Individuals doing business on their own terms. Well, just to touch back, yesterday I think we're having a discussion and we're emphasizing more on the fact that, oh, the government should be able to fix this. Everything should
Yeah.
rely on the government. So I don't know. That's why I
The
brought this up.
policy
Okay.
should be done by the government.
Hmm.
As their policies that control this thing,
Hmm.
this transportation. That's why sometimes you see that the price are being regulated by government. You cannot just when government does not have influence in any sector, there's no sector in an economy that the government should not have influence, because the government is the people. They set up rules, they set up regulation that the companies should follow. They set up policies to benefit the citizens. That's the function of the government. So if private and government are going into collaboration, be it in the educational sector or any sector of government, the policies that will be put in place by the government is to help this transaction to be very smooth for the citizens.
Mm.
So this price regulation and everything, government, those policies are what the government are supposed to look into. What we were saying yesterday is that, okay, even after these policies have been made by the government, there is no follow, there is no monitoring of these policies, and that is the problem of a society, because now everybody can do what they want. You can see in some of, let's use food prices and everything.
Mm.
You can just see a body. We just say from today we are selling this price,
Okay.
and government does not really do anything about them. They will just say, oh, the body of rice sellers have said, okay, they'll start selling 40,000 per bag.
Remember there was an incident one time. This was a while ago. Yeah, the bread sellers or the Association of Bakers in Benin. I don't know if you
Yeah,
remember
I
that
remember.
incident. Like they increased the price of bread so much, and it was insane, and it was all over the news. But go on with what you were saying.
Yeah, if you also remember, there was a time this Gary cassava flakes
Mm.
was being hyped like that,
Mm.
and it took citizens to actually stop that,
Mm.
especially in the Benin region, because then citizens started going to the market, and if you are selling in that price, they take it,
Mm.
because the thing was not outrageous,
Yeah.
and that's what happened in an economy that's not governed by policies.
Mm.
That government does not give out policies to regulate this thing, because everybody will now start running wild, and things can easily get out of hand. So that's
Yeah.
the function of the government in a society, and that's what I was
Well,
iterating
can
yesterday.
this society be self-regulating? In a way, the society is sort of self-regulating because if you see the price of these transport services now, you
Yeah.
know, they they don't really go over a particular limit. Even though there's a discrepancies in the price, little amounts. Let's say I think when we were going, we paid about 900 or so in total. But when we're coming back, we had to pay, I think, extra 100 naira for working on that. Sorry, I'm having trouble with the for the trip back. You get so
Hmm.
uh
The
there's a way, like where I'm going is the fact that there's a way society self-regulates that it's kind of interesting if you look at it. Like we just adjust to the new price without any public announcement by the government or anything like that.
okay, I'll give you an instance now. There was a time during the COVID,
Mm.
due to the fact that people are no longer going to work and everything,
Mm.
the transport association thought
Mm.
it that, okay, COVID, we're going to be carrying lesser people in our bus.
Mm.
Instead of carrying like three or four in a seat, now
Mm.
let's carry two. And then they took the price, I think, from 100 naira to about 200 or 250, there
Mm.
about 300. It was going on for a while. The government were not aware of this thing.
Mm.
that, oh, this part of the government have increased. But then when people reacted to it,
mm,
the government had to step in and take the price back. And they gave out a declaration that, oh no, the prices are still the same.
mm,
Nobody, if you are caught hiking your price, you'll be dealt with. So those are the things that government do. Those normal maybe 15 year difference in price, those ones are just normal.
mm,
It's just the person that is carrying you can just add that. Maybe you don't know the way yet.
mm,
But in fixed areas like from year to year, this is the price. From year to year, this is the price.
mm.
Those you cannot just increase the price unnecessarily without it causing an uproar, and then government comes in and level this stuff back.
Yeah, yeah, I think we're saying the same thing in a way because I'm trying to say that the community self-regulates without the government sometimes. And
Yeah,
they're saying, okay, once it
I'm saying
gets
they
out of
cannot.
hand,
Yeah, the
the
government
government has
comes
to
in.
step in.
Yeah,
Yeah. So it's in essence, maybe you're saying the community can continuously self-regulate.
yeah,
But at the same time, I believe the community, the society can, like the same way you said to when Gary Flakes was going up, it was the individuals that went to the market and start seizing
stopping
stuff,
the sales.
yeah, stopping the sales. So it's give and take anyway. So because we are still trying to encourage, or we are it's two things. Me personally, though, because I don't want to speak for you. Me personally, I'm hoping for more self-regulation by the society and by individual rather than by the government. I'm hoping that people start doing things properly on their own without like the government having to tell them, oh, why did you increase this? Like, yeah, that's the society that I'm hoping, for the near future, where the government has less control over things or how things are done. So that's just my own
I,
hypothesis or
I
theory,
think
Sha.
that future is already here because if you look at things, government don't even regulate anything
Hmm,
apart from government don't regulate any price in this country
hmm,
right now. It's always individuals, and
hmm,
those individuals are those that are in the business, be it and the petroleum,
hmm,
the fuel, and the rest. They have a body. Those body can just come together and declare the price they want based
hmm,
on the economy of the country. Like in pure water factories now,
hmm,
they have an association. I think in every state or in every local government,
hmm,
they have their different association. And those people come, government does not influence them. They are just the owners of factories together,
hmm,
managers of these factories
hmm,
come together, they appoint a chairman, someone that supersedes, then they level the thing that, okay, this is the prices I'm going to be selling. Government does not have influence in them.
hmm,
And rice sellers too, okay, this is how we're importing now. So let's increase our price. Everybody have to follow it.
hmm,
That's why you see going into the market most times is very difficult for individuals. You need to go through these established
bodies.
bodies in any, maybe you want to go into food selling now, like
Yeah,
in
because
a
it's
way, in a OC style, you
mm,
need to go through these guys that, okay, and government does not have any influence with them. They just go to the government and see this is our association,
mm,
but if you are not in this association, you are not allowed to sell in this state
mm,
or in this local government. So if you observe it closely, you see that government does not really have influence in pricing in this country. It's just that when it's not getting out of hand,
mm,
government is not, and it's most time when it's just outrageous, like you see during the foil and everything. Even when government gave directive that no, this fuel price should remain like this,
mm,
everybody should start selling 230.
mm,
You see some people are still selling 300
mm, mm, mm,
because the body has come up and said this is the price we want to sell.
mm,
You, I think they were all going around locking filling stations, and
yeah,
but the price did not reduce.
mm,
That is what I was trying to say. Like the government does not have control over the system to some
mm,
extent, which is bad, because
mm,
if the government have control, the government is there for the people. And when the interest of the people is no longer fought, individuals will, because you have your power. I'm coming to buy something for you from you. You have the power to sell at any price you want.
mm,
I don't have the purchasing power to do that. What do? I need the government to step in and reduce your price based on the current economy. And if the government is not there totally, if they are removed, that's why I don't think the government should not be influenced. I think the government is not influencing these things enough. That is why things are going the way they
So
are.
are
But
you
then again,
okay?
why when you're in the business, that's when you see that okay, even the government that are, imagine you are selling rice now and it costs you about 100,000 for transportation to bring your rice to a particular location.
Mm,
Government is not going to subsidize that 100,000 naira for you. You are the
mm,
one paying for it.
mm,
This is why government does not have power over their pricing,
mm,
I guess. So I'm bringing this thing. Maybe something I used to bring in with about 50,000 naira. The
mm,
price has doubled. What do? I have to increase the price of my items. Anybody will come together and say, "Oh, the price of things have gone up. Let's increase the price." And government is telling you that no, don't increase the price when you know that it's costing you more now than it was before. You won't
so
listen to the government.
they are saying these bodies have more control over the business now. Obviously, that's what you're saying.
Yeah, they have
So,
more control. Government cannot even tell them what to do.
mm, it's quite.
Government can influence them to sell, but then they
Mhm.
can decide, okay, we're not selling, and then they will hoard. That's what's going on in the country. They hoard
The
these goods
goods, yeah.
and they wait. Then people are panicking and panicking, and then they bring it out to the
Mm,
market, and then you have to pay anything they give you.
mm,
But if there's a good regulatory body
mm.
that handles this thing, I think that's where the labor people are supposed to come in and look into these things very well. What we should be looking at now is a setup that can really control these things,
Mm.
and not like the removal of government influence. Not That's not the problem. The problem is even the individuals that want to leave it to. So we need that system. We need to start thinking of the system that can make this thing work for the benefit of the masses in general.
Mm. Well, yeah, I share some of your perspective though, but I'm just maybe somebody that kind of believes a lot in individuals rather than a figurehead or a body. I believe people can do good if they want to. Even in a situation where, there's a body, there's a general body controlling the distribution of these items. And if you want to start business in any sector, like from what we're discussing now, there's a body, there's an association
Yeah.
that you have to go through. Even like for something as like the transportation system, now there's a body, a group of people that say, okay, well, the ones you pay money to if you want to start driving. It's still an individual, like a chairman or a chairperson, still one person that's in charge of this body. Maybe let's say, okay, there's still like one main
Control.
figurehead, one control, and that individual can decide to be like, okay, let's do things better. Let's regulate the price more reasonably. Let's just be better. So that's kind of like where I'm driving
The government is
more
an
towards.
individual too now. So
The problem with the government is that there's so many layers of it. You get, like, the government is an individual, but if the government were to implement a law or a bill or something, it has to pass through so many layers before it gets implemented. But at this palia or body level, this
yeah.
society level, it's easier, and it's just maybe one chairman or one head of something that's making the rules and regulation for this. It's just like a small organization, like Henley. Just the difference between a large scale and a small scale organization.
Yeah.
It's easier to make laws at a small scale organization than it is at a large
Last
scale
year.
organization. So, for instance, now the government is a large body of power, regulating the entire system, and these smaller associations is like a smaller organization, so they can easily you can easily appeal to the nature or to the human nature of these people in power at these smaller organizations.
Yes,
So
yes, I
that's what
agree.
I'm trying or hoping for, in the near
Okay,
future, that these smaller organizations, the people involved, the
they
chairman, the
do better.
chairpersons, they do better. They see things more from the human perspective, the
And the
one to one
masses.
from the masses perspective, and not just like uh, it's all about the money or it's stuff like that. Because
I want you to still know that
okay,
power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. So when you
well,
come
that's a
into a place of
cliche saying
power,
though.
you start doing what power. The thing is just like government is just they give you a position of power. So does individuals. When you come into this body now, you are given a place of power. It corrupts you absolutely. And then you see, it's always. I think what we should be looking at is a system that will work better, not even because what we
It's
want
all the
to
same
take
thing we're
one,
saying.
yeah,
The
we want to
system that
take.
will work better now.
It's not with this one
It's
you're trying
going.
to say.
No, you can't say it's not this one I'm trying to say. You don't know. Nobody
No,
knows the
because this
system.
is
So
the
let me
one that is
finish.
going on right
Let
now.
me finish. The system that will work better now is still going to have the human flaw inside. It's still
Yeah,
going to be run by a human. And we know humans are flawed from what you said now. Power corrupts, absolute power corrupts, absolutely. Yeah, it's still, there's a human bias in any system that we're going to think of. So is it to say now that we should completely remove human in any system of power? So first of all, we just have to be better humans. That's like the summary of everything. In
yeah,
any system that we're going to introduce, we have to like really want to be better as humans. We have to have that one-to-one feeling for ourselves. So that's my summary though.
yeah. That's why my own summary now is
Okay.
that for anything, any system to work, there need to be rules and regulations that will be followed and enforced. And who better enforcing these things than the superpower, which is the government? And then the individuals, the private sectors can be doing their thing, but then there's a monitoring body for the interest of the masses. So when we are going into transportation, let there be a government. There is already these things are in place, but let it be functional so that private individuals cannot overrun the system. That is my take. So thank you guys for listening to another episode of my Workman Show. Here we share ideas and think of better ways to improve our society and ourselves. And till next time, I remain Marcos.
All right, guys. Have a nice one. Peace out.
Peace.